Hello again. Well, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my little stories here. We're going to talk about episode 5 today. Today is a good one. It's episode 5, and the title for episode 5 is here it comes, Let's Make It a Blockbuster Night. Now, if you guys grew up in the 80s or 90s, as I say, the 90s came, Blockbuster Video was the thing that everybody wanted to go to. It was like the best place. It had all the movies, all the new stuff, had everywhere you wanted to go. They rented video games as well, but they first started off with VHSs, tapes, and then they went to DVDs. Near the end, I think I think it ended like in 2004 or something, but I remember it just ended because there's no with digital media, and when Netflix was the first service that had envelopes and everything, that's what started it all. You didn't need a Blockbuster video. I went to Blockbuster not a whole lot of times, but I went there enough where I was like, okay. What made Blockbuster special, I think, was the weekends. From Friday through Sunday, they always had like a deal where if you rented like 2 movies, you got a, a bowl of popcorn, 2 drinks. It was like $9.99 or something. It was a great deal. Grab all these movies random, and everyone loved it. It was a great deal. Now my story I'm about to tell you, it's not about me being at Blockbuster and having fun or that, because whatever. This happened in 1999. It was one of those. To paint the scene, I had just come back from my first deployment. When I left for boot camp in 1997, I had one of those, what they call it, the girl you left behind. She was a nice girl. We're still friends to this day. No ill will. I admitted to her that I was a terrible boyfriend. She accepted that I admitted that I was a terrible boyfriend. But we're friends. Everything's good. Whatever. Well, she thought we were still together. I was not with her anymore, which I felt kind of bad about. Well, one day, going to Blockbuster Video, there was one Blockbuster. It was on Bremerton, where I was stationed at. It was in this big plaza. There was a QFC, a laundromat, and a Blockbuster Video. That Blockbuster Video was always busy. And at this time, I had my first car. It was a 1984 Dodge Colt. They charged me $84 a month for the payment. That was pretty funny, I thought. Insurance was like $15. This car was awesome. I mean, this car had gas. You could fill the whole tank, go from Bremerton to the airport and back, and still not have to fill it up. So I usually charge people that wanted to get an airport ride. I usually charge them about $100 because I make the money back in gas. Well, one day, I called Blockbuster Video. I was with my friend. Still friends with that guy. I think it was Oscar. Well, I went there, and there was this girl. She was the manager there. Beautiful girl. She had blonde hair, beautiful eyes, beautiful lips, beautiful girl. I'm not gonna say her name. I never looked her up after. I never cared because that's nothing to do with me. But she was a nice girl. Well, I saw her in the check stand, and I thought I should ask her for a number. Flip phones had just come out, so I had a flip phone. So I had my first Verizon flip phone, which I thought was pretty cool, which now they call burner phones. I went through her line, and she said hi. I said hi, paid for her dinner. It was cool. And then I felt that feeling in my head, like, you know what? Go back in the line and try again and see what happens. And I did that. And I said, hi, I'm so-and-so, said my name to her. She said, I'm so-and-so. Here's my name. And I said, could I have your number? Could we possibly talk, go on a date maybe? And this is pre-internet, pre-dating. You had to tell the person in person how you felt, and you had to tell them, just say the way it was. So it was cool. No pressure. They either tell you yes or they tell you no. End the story. Move on. Well, she looked at me. She looked at me and she said, "Okay." And she wrote her number on the receipt paper. And I said, "Okay." So I looked at my friend Oscar. I was like, "I got a number. Hooray!" And before I walked out, she grabbed me by the hand and she goes, "Oh, by the way, I have a daughter. Is is this a problem?" And I looked at her. I said, "No," without thinking. I said no without thinking, which is cool. Everything was fine. And then I called her. She lives right by the base, so it was pretty cool. I called her. We went on a date, and I think the first date was, what was the date? Oh, I think we went to Wendy's or something. We went somewhere, and we went with her kid because her kid I think was like 4 years old at the time, which now her kid would be like in her late 30s, early 30s, yeah, early 30s about. Well, so we went out. Everything was cool, and then like the third night, she said I could stay over if I wanted to. And I said sure, and it was cool. We talked about everything. We made breakfast together, dinner. We went out. Her kid was babysitted by some lady in Silverdale across the other side of town. So I'd pick her up in my car. We go pick up her kid, and that was it. It was a good routine. This was the first time I dated someone with a kid. I didn't think nothing of it because there are so many great mothers out there with kids. And a lot of guys say, "Oh, I'm not dating a woman with kids." Well, you didn't think about that back in 1999. You just did it because you liked her, and your reward is you hope that the kid likes you back, and everything's okay. Everything was fine, and everything was good. The one cool thing about her working at Blockbuster, she had every new movie that came out. We got to see it first. We got to see it first at home. Always a new movie. Her daughter at the time loved the movie Labyrinth, that George Lucas movie, the one with David Bowie and everything. She'd watch that movie constantly. And I was just like, wow. When I had my kids, I remember years later, my daughter watched it a few times, but she wasn't into it. And I was like, good, because I don't want to watch this movie anyways. Well, everything was fine. Everything was cool. And now here's what I learned about when you're with someone who works at Blockbuster. April 6th, 1998. Wait, 98 or 99? I forget what time. Well, The Sixth Sense had just come out on VHS. Me and my friends saw it in the theater. It was a great movie. It was a great movie when it came out. Perfect movie, awesome movie. Everything was good. Well, she had rights to it first. Like at work, they are like, "Oh, I'm gonna see this movie first. I'm gonna see this movie first." We got to see it, and she told me that the secret with Blockbuster Video was whenever they got a new movie, The Sixth Sense as example, what they did was the store bought 7 copies on VHS. They had 7 copies of that movie, but they would only put out 3, so they can make it like a must have. So people keep calling and saying, "Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it?" Everyone wanted to rent the movie. Everyone wanted to rent the movie, so they would constantly. That's how they made their money. After about 2 months, when the hype died down and everything, then they'd have it up to like 5 VHS tapes to rent. People still be renting them. Everything be cool. Everything goes. When the hype finally died after like 4 or 5 months, those 7 movies be all there. They would take like 4 of those and they would sell them. They'd sell them for like $30 or something. And $30 back then for a VHS tape was a lot of money, but you had it now. Now it's yours. So after that happened, then when the hype really died down, what they do is they'd sell like 5 of the copies, leave 2 just to cycle through. A lot of times she told me that when they had movies that weren't really selling or being rented, they had this like shredder machine in the back, like a crusher for VHS tapes. It crushed the movie. Then they had to show a picture and send it back to the company saying, "Yeah, the movie's crushed. it's destroyed. Instead of saying like, why don't you just put it on the bin? But years later, they put it in the cheap bin. I mean, there were so many movies I'd see we buy for cheap and everything because it's not popular. When their DVDs came out, oh, that was a game changer. The DVD thing was better. That's what made when the PlayStation 2 came out in 2000, that made everything awesome because you had a DVD player and a video game system, and everyone was like, "Oh, great!" Now to the bad part. The We were together, I would say, for about almost 3 months. 3 months. I haven't gone out to sea yet because my ship was in a thing called a dry dock. It's where the ship doesn't leave. And this was my first dry dock. So we were there for about 11 months. It was a long time for dry dock. We were there because of the fact that the ship had a lot of, I call it, a lot of repairs. And this was my first ever dry dock. I'll tell a story about that later. But so she'd give me a ride to the front of the gate because she lives like 3 miles down the road. So she gave me a ride to the gate, kiss her goodbye, go to work, come back. And then I remember one night she told me she was dating some guy who worked on the ship. He was an engineer. She just wanted to let me know because she didn't want to say anything weird. And I said, okay. I thought it was funny because years later, guys don't care about that stuff. Like someone told me this joke years ago. They said that if if two girls walk into a bar, a club, whatever, they wear the same dress, they want to kill each other. But if two guys walk in the same place with the same shirt, they high five each other. That's just how guys are. They're like, we don't care. But girls will compare, whatever. I thought it was funny. Everything was funny. Well, everything was going good till one night. This is the one time I wished I didn't, which is kind of stupid. I didn't hit her or nothing. I didn't be physical. What happened was, I think I was tired that night, or I was stressed out, or something. I can't remember what it was, but I remember I wasn't having a good night, and I remember her daughter wouldn't sleep. Like her daughter couldn't sleep. She just didn't want to sleep, and I put my hands on her daughter, and I told her go to bed, but I had my hands on her, and I was shaking her, and I said, please go to bed. Just a couple of shakes. Now, as a parent myself, now I raise two daughters. I tell anyone out there, it's not your kid. Do not do not ever touch your kid. Do not ever put hands on your kid, on someone else's kid. Don't do anything because that's not your kid. You have no right. And when I shook her, I just, I don't know why I did that. That was just so stupid. It was really stupid. Trust me, I had my talk with God about it and said, I'm glad it wasn't worse or nothing, but it's really dumb. Well, she saw it. I, I think she probably told me to stop. Then I remember, because mothers always have the intuition, the instinct. There's no denying about that. So the next the next day I went to work. I came back from work, and she sat me across from her on the two couches she had, and she said, we need to talk. And she said, you don't do that to my kid, so and so. And just like that, the rainbow was over, and she said, we're breaking up. And I said, okay. I had a few stuff over there. I took it. It was over. Okay, no biggie. So that ended. Oh well, that was it. And then as weeks passed, I'd see her at Blockbuster. I try to call her, say, hi, how's it going? Try to talk to her. But this is that part where the guys think, oh, I might have a shot. I might have a shot again. No, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It's so true. It ended. I never got a chance again. I told my mom many times on the phone, saying, "No, if I can do this, I can do that." Even my mom would listen to me on the phone, but I think she would tell me, "Son, you need to let it go. It's over. It's messed up." And I knew I did, and I felt so bad for it. And that was it. We broke up, and the story. And like a couple years later, I worked on the flight deck. I was on the EO team, which is they were in the elevators, and I was on there, and this other guy was there and he was working on it. And he looked at me one day and he goes, "I've seen your picture before." I'm like, "You have?" He goes, "Yeah. Um, were you dating this girl named so and so?" And I said I was, but she kicked me out of her house. He started laughing. I said, "What?" And he goes, "I was dating her like 5 months before you were dating her." He never explained what broke up or how they broke up, but they just broke up. And I was like, okay. So I thought it was pretty funny. And then I thought of that kind of like the two guys were in the same shirt, like, we don't care. We don't compare. It didn't matter. And that was it. And years later, when I did have to drive past her house, like I didn't want to drive past her, but I drove past it. She wasn't there no more. She didn't live there no more. Word around the street was when I asked that guy, an engineer, and he said he found out. He said that she dated some drug guy, and I guess he got busted for drugs or something. She lost her place and everything else, and I don't know what else happened. That was the end of it and the story. But it was a story of my life, and I sit there and I wish wherever she's at now, she's in a good place. Her daughter's in a good place. She probably has grandchildren now, and everything is cool. And that's it. Whatever. Well, that was my story for episode 5 of Make It a Blockbuster Night. Hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up and like. Look forward to tell you episode 6. Bye.